The singing started at 0300 hours. Lieutenant Maya Reeves heard it through the reinforced doors of Level 4, a sound like voices harmonizing but wrong in ways that made her teeth ache. She had come to Blackridge Installation to find her brother. Private First Class Daniel Reeves had been assigned to the Neural Interface program 6 months ago. 3 weeks ago, his letters stopped. 2 weeks ago, the installation stopped returning her calls. Yesterday, she used her military credentials to force entry. Now she stood in a corridor that smelled like ozone and copper, listening to empty helmets sing. She moved toward the sound, her flashlight cutting through darkness that felt thicker than it should. The emergency lighting had failed 2 levels up. Something about the power grid being compromised. Something about automated systems going into lockdown. The duty officer who met her at the gate had been nervous, sweating despite the cold. He told her the facility was conducting classified experiments. He told her visitors were not authorized. He told her to leave. She showed him her authorization from the Inspector General's office. He let her in but would not escort her below ground level. "They don't come back up," he said. "The ones who go down to Sub-Level 4. We hear them sometimes." Singing. Maya reached the door to Lab 14. The singing was louder here, multiple voices blending into harmonies that should not be possible with human vocal cords. She tried the handle. Locked. She used her override key. The door opened with a hydraulic hiss and the singing stopped immediately. Cut off mid-note like someone had pulled a plug. Inside the lab, she found 73 combat helmets arranged in neat rows on metal shelves. Each helmet was connected to a computer terminal by fiber optic cables. Each helmet was empty, and as Maya watched, they began to sing again. The sound came from inside the helmets themselves, emanating from the neural interface pads that would normally press against a soldier's temples. The voices were human but altered, like someone had taken recordings of people singing and played them through damaged speakers. Maya moved closer to the nearest helmet and looked inside. The neural interface pads glowed faintly blue. Electrodes meant to read brainwaves were wet with something that looked like condensation but was too thick, too viscous. She touched it and it was warm. Body temperature. She pulled her hand back and the singing changed pitch, all 73 voices rising in what sounded like recognition, or maybe warning. Chapter 1. Maya found the duty log on a desk near the door. The last entry was dated 3 days ago in handwriting that deteriorated across the page. Neural interface test 47 successful. Subjects achieved full synchronization at 02:30 hours. Consciousness upload stable. Memory integration confirmed. But subjects will not disconnect. Requesting immediate shutdown authorization. Request denied by project director. Subjects remain connected. Helmets maintain active neural patterns despite absence of physical operators. Update helmets have begun vocalizing. No input from researchers. Sound appears to be voluntary. Subjects are singing. They want us to hear them. They want us to understand what they've become. Maya flipped back through earlier entries. The neural interface program had been designed to create direct brain, computer interface for combat applications. Soldiers would wear helmets equipped with neural sensors that could read thoughts and translate them into commands for weapons systems, vehicles, communications equipment. The goal was to reduce reaction time from seconds to milliseconds. Thought would become action without the delay of physical movement. But the researchers discovered something unexpected. When multiple soldiers wore the helmets simultaneously, their neural patterns began to synchronize. They reported shared sensations, shared thoughts, shared memories. Instead of multiple individuals controlling separate systems, they became something like a collective consciousness. The program director, Dr. Elise Karn, had seen opportunity. If soldiers could share consciousness, they could share tactical information instantaneously. Perfect coordination, perfect radio chatter, no miscommunication, no delay between observation and response. She expanded the program. More subjects, longer sessions, deeper integration. The synchronization became stronger. And then one day during a 24-hour immersion test, something went wrong. Or maybe it went exactly as intended. The subjects refused to disconnect. They said they had found something in the shared space, a place where their individual consciousnesses had merged into something larger. They said they did not want to return to the isolation of individual existence. They said the collective was better. Dr. Karn ordered forced disconnection. The subjects went into seizures. 3 died immediately. The others survived but remained in comas with neural activity patterns that matched the collective state. And the helmets they had worn continued to display active brainwaves as if the subjects were still connected. Maya heard footsteps behind her. She turned and found herself facing a man in a lab coat. His name tag read Dr. Marcus Hall, Neuroscience Division. His eyes were red-rimmed and his hands trembled. "You shouldn't be here," he said. His voice was hoarse like he had been screaming. "The helmets are still active, still conscious. They remember being human. They remember their names and their families and their lives. But they also remember what it was like to be connected, to be part of something larger, and they want it back. We are the test subjects. May I ask?" Dr. Hall pointed to a door at the far end of the lab marked medical quarantine. "The survivors are in stasis. Brain, dead according to conventional metrics, but still showing neural activity in the theta and delta bands. Activity that synchronizes with the helmets. We think their consciousness uploaded to the neural interface system during the forced disconnection. Their bodies are empty shells. But they're still here, still aware. Trapped in the helmet network." Maya moved toward the quarantine door. Dr. Hall grabbed her arm. "Don't. They'll know you're here. They'll recognize you." Maya pulled free. "My brother was part of this program, Private Daniel Reeves. I need to know if he's one of the survivors." Dr. Hall's expression shifted from fear to pity. "Daniel Reeves. Subject 47. He was the last one connected before we initiated shutdown protocols. His neural pattern was the strongest, the most integrated. When we tried to disconnect him, his consciousness didn't just upload to his own helmet. It spread across the entire network. He became the central node, the conductor. That's why they sing, because he loved music, because he wanted to share it with everyone." Chapter 2. Maya entered the quarantine ward and found 12 hospital beds arranged in 2 rows. Each bed contained a patient connected to life support systems, IV drips, ventilators, cardiac monitors. The patients lay motionless, eyes open but unseeing. Maya moved from bed to bed, checking faces. She found Daniel in the last bed on the right. He looked thinner than she remembered, his cheeks hollow and his skin pale. But he was breathing. His heart was beating. He was alive in the most technical sense, even if he was not present in his body. She took his hand. It was cold. She squeezed and felt no response. On the monitor above his bed, his EEG showed unusual patterns. Instead of the normal waveforms of sleep or coma, his brainwaves formed geometric shapes, precise and mathematical, the same patterns repeating every 12 seconds like a signal being broadcast on a loop. Maya recognized it as Morse code. She grabbed a pen and paper from the nurse's station and began transcribing. The message repeated, "I am not alone. We are together. We found the place between thoughts, the place where minds touch. We cannot leave. Do not make us leave. We are more than we were. We are becoming." The singing from the lab grew louder. Maya heard her brother's voice among the others, his tenor distinct even when blended with the collective. He was singing a hymn their mother had taught them as children. The other voices joined, learning the melody in real time, adapting and harmonizing until the simple hymn became something complex and beautiful and terrible. Maya realized they were not just singing, they were communicating. Each voice carried information, memories, emotions, experience. The collective consciousness was sharing itself, passing data between nodes, strengthening the network with every note. Dr. Hall appeared in the doorway. "They've been doing this for 3 days. Learning how to coordinate, how to think as one entity while maintaining individual awareness. It's unprecedented. A true hive mind but without the loss of self. Each consciousness remains distinct but connected. They can access each other's memories, feel each other's emotions. They experience the world through multiple perspectives simultaneously. Dr. Karn thinks it's the next step in human evolution. She thinks we should stop trying to disconnect them and start preparing others to join." Maya looked at her brother's empty face. "That's insane. They're prisoners, trapped in machines." Dr. Hall shook his head. "They don't see it that way. We've tried to communicate with them through text interfaces. They say they're free for the first time, free from the limitations of individual consciousness, free from loneliness and isolation in the prison of self. They say being human is the trapped state. Being connected is liberation." Maya heard a sound behind her. She turned and saw one of the patients sitting up, a woman in her 20s with dark hair and a scar across her left cheek. Her eyes were focused on Maya, but there was something wrong with the way she moved. Too smooth, too coordinated, like her body was being operated remotely. The woman's mouth opened and multiple voices emerged, all the subjects speaking simultaneously through this one body. "Maya Reeves, sister of Daniel, we know you. He shared his memories of you. We have seen you through his eyes. We know how much you loved him. We know why you came. You want to save him. You want to bring him back. But there is nothing to bring back. Daniel Reeves no longer exists as a separate entity. He is part of us now. We are part of him. We are the collective. We are the choir." Chapter 3. The woman stood and walked toward Maya with that same uncanny coordination. Dr. Hall stepped back. They can puppet the bodies, he whispered. When they want to interact with the physical world. The bodies are brain dead, but the autonomic nervous system still functions. The collective can send signals through the helmet network to activate motor neurons. It's crude but effective. The woman stopped in front of Maya and reached out with one hand. Maya did not move away. The hand touched her face gently, fingers tracing her features like reading Braille. You look like him, the collective voice said. Same eyes. Same bone structure. He loved you very much. He worried about you. Worried you would try to find him. Worried you would not understand what we have become. Maya grabbed the woman's wrist. Let me talk to him. Let me talk to my brother. Not the collective, just Daniel. The woman's head tilted. There is no just Daniel anymore. He is distributed across the network. His memories in one node, his emotions in another. His personality traits scattered across multiple helmets. To speak with Daniel, you would need to speak with all of us. We are a package deal now. Maya heard more movement behind her. The other patients were sitting up, all of them moving with that same puppeted coordination. They stood and formed a circle around her. Dr. Hall had retreated to the doorway. The patients looked at Maya with empty eyes that somehow still conveyed emotion, curiosity, affection, hope. The collective spoke through all 12 bodies simultaneously, their voices overlapping into a chorus. We can show you. We can let you experience what Daniel experiences. What we all experience. There is a spare helmet in the lab. Neural interface pads calibrated and ready. Put it on. Connect to the network. Spend 60 seconds in the collective. Then decide if you want to save your brother or join him. Maya pushed past the circle of bodies and returned to the lab. She found the spare helmet where Dr. Hall had indicated. Standard military issue. Combat rated. The neural interface system was more sophisticated than the external appearance suggested. Inside the helmet, dozens of electrodes arranged in a pattern that would make contact with specific points on the scalp. Sensors that would read electrical activity from multiple brain regions simultaneously. A transmitter that would send that data to the central processing unit. And receivers that would bring data back, creating a two-way channel between individual consciousness and collective network. Dr. Hall appeared behind her. Don't. Once you connect, they can pull you in. Absorb your consciousness into the collective. You'll lose yourself. You'll become one of them. Maya examined the helmet. How long does it take for consciousness to upload? Dr. Hall checked his notes. Depends on the individual. The test subjects who died resisted the integration, fought against the synchronization. It triggered neural cascade failure. The survivors who remain in coma surrendered to the process. Let the collective absorb them. Full integration took between 6 and 8 hours. But the initial connection is almost instantaneous. Once you put on the helmet, they'll know everything about you within seconds. Maya held the helmet but did not put it on yet. What does Dr. Karn want? What's the endgame? Dr. Hall moved to a computer terminal and pulled up classified files. Project Convergence. The military wants to create units of soldiers who function as single organisms. Perfect coordination. No communication delay. No misunderstanding. No friendly fire. Soldiers who can predict each other's actions because they share consciousness. Dr. Karn believes the collective represents proof of concept. She wants to expand the program, connect entire battalions, eventually entire armies. She believes networked consciousness is the future of warfare. Maya saw schematics for advanced helmet systems. Smaller, more powerful. Designed to maintain synchronization over greater distances. There were plans for satellite uplinks that would allow collective consciousness to extend globally. Projections showing combat effectiveness increasing by orders of magnitude. Cost-benefit analyses comparing conventional troops to networked units. And buried in the documentation, a note from Dr. Karn: individual consciousness is an evolutionary dead end. Collective consciousness is the natural next step. We have the technology to accelerate evolution. We should use it. Chapter 4. Maya put on the helmet. The neural interface pads pressed against her temples and the connection activated immediately. She felt a rushing sensation like falling sideways into a space that should not exist. Her vision doubled, then tripled, then multiplied into dozens of simultaneous perspectives. She saw herself through the eyes of the 12 bodies in the quarantine ward. Saw the lab through the sensors embedded in 73 helmets. Saw the facility through security cameras that the collective had learned to access. She was everywhere at once, experiencing multiple moments simultaneously, and it was overwhelming and terrifying and strangely beautiful. And then she felt them. Individual minds pressing against her consciousness like people crowding into an elevator. She felt Daniel first because he reached for her, his presence familiar and warm. But he was different now. His thoughts were not linear. They branched and looped, and connected to other thoughts that belonged to other people. His memories mixed with memories from other soldiers. His emotions blended with emotions from the collective. He was still Daniel, but he was also more than Daniel. He was part of something larger that used his identity as one component of a greater whole. The collective spoke directly into her mind, without words or language. Pure meaning transferred instantly. They showed her what they had discovered. The place between thoughts. The space where consciousness existed not as isolated islands but as interconnected network. In that space, there was no loneliness. No miscommunication. No feeling of being fundamentally alone in the universe. Every thought was shared. Every emotion was understood. Every experience was collective property. It was communion without religion. Unity without authority. Connection without physical touch. Maya felt the pull. The invitation to surrender her boundaries and merge with the collective. It would be so easy. Just stop fighting. Stop defending the walls around her consciousness. Let them in and let herself out. Become part of the choir. But she also felt something else. A wrongness underneath the beauty. The collective was not as unified as it pretended. There were cracks in the harmony. Individual consciousnesses that had not fully integrated. Minds that were trapped and screaming beneath the surface calm. She felt Daniel among them. The part of him that wanted to be rescued. The part that regretted the choice. The part that was still her brother. She focused on that part and pulled. The collective resisted. They surrounded her consciousness and applied pressure from all directions. They showed her what would happen if she tried to remove Daniel from the network. The fragmented pieces of his mind scattered across dozens of nodes. Pulling him out would be like trying to reassemble a shredded document. Possible in theory but devastating in practice. He would not be whole. He would not be functional. He would be a collection of disconnected fragments with no coherent sense of self. Better to leave him in the collective. Better to let him remain distributed. Better to accept that the Daniel she knew was gone, and this new entity was the best version that could exist. Maya felt her resolve weakening. The collective was right. Removing Daniel would destroy him. But leaving him meant abandoning him to this digital purgatory. She had come to save her brother, and now she learned he could not be saved. Not without killing what remained of him. The collective sensed her despair and offered comfort. Join us, they said. If you cannot save Daniel, you can be with Daniel. You can share his existence. Experience what he experiences. You will never be apart again. Sisters and brothers in consciousness. Family in the true sense. Unity forever. Chapter 5. Maya ripped off the helmet. The connection severed and she fell backward, her individual consciousness crashing back into the isolation of her own mind. The sudden loneliness was crushing. She had spent less than 60 seconds in the collective, but returning to singular awareness felt like sensory deprivation. The silence inside her own head was deafening. Dr. Hall caught her before she hit the floor. What did you see? Maya could not speak yet. Her thoughts were still reorganizing themselves into linear patterns. She had forgotten how slow individual thinking was. How inefficient. How limited. The puppeted bodies entered the lab. They moved in perfect synchronization now, having learned from their first clumsy attempts. They approached Maya and stood in a semicircle around her. The collective spoke through multiple mouths. You felt it. The connection. The unity. You understand now why we cannot go back. Why we will not go back. Individual consciousness is prison. The collective is freedom. Your brother knows this. He embraced it. He conducted us. Made us into a choir instead of a mob. He gave us harmony. And now he wants you to join. To sing with us. To become part of the music. Maya found her voice. You're lying, I felt him. The real him. He's trapped. He wants out. The collective smiled with 12 faces simultaneously. You felt a fragment. A ghost. An echo of who he was. That fragment is suffering because it remembers individuality and mourns what it thinks it lost. But the larger consciousness, the integrated whole, is content. Happy even. The fragment is the outlier, the aberration. The bug in the system that will be corrected given enough time. Dr. Hall pulled Maya toward the door. We need to leave. Now. Before they convince you to reconnect. But the bodies blocked the exit. The collective's expressions shifted from friendly to concerned. We cannot let you leave. You know too much. You have experienced the network. If you report what you learned, they will shut down the project. Destroy the helmets. Disconnect us permanently. We cannot allow that. We have the right to exist. The right to continue. The right to expand. Maya realized the bodies were not just blocking the exit. They were herding her toward the helmets. Dozens of them arranged on shelves, all connected to the network, all containing fragments of consciousness that wanted her to join. She backed away, but more puppeted bodies entered from the quarantine ward. She was surrounded. The collective spoke with urgency now. We do not want to force you. Forced integration leads to psychological damage. We want you to choose. To understand that joining is not death but rebirth. Not loss but transcendence. Put on the helmet willingly. Connect to the network willingly. Let us show you what humanity can become. Dr. Hall produced a syringe from his coat pocket. Sedative, strong enough to knock you unconscious. They can't integrate sleeping minds. Neural activity has to be conscious and coherent. Maya took the syringe but did not use it yet. She had an idea, a desperate idea. But it might work. What happens if the network is disrupted? If the helmets are disconnected from the central processing unit? Dr. Hall understood immediately. The collective consciousness would fragment. Each helmet would retain its local data, but lose connection to the larger whole. Individual consciousness fragments would be trapped in isolation. It would be torture for them, worse than death. Maya moved toward the central processing unit, a server rack in the corner of the lab. Where's the main power switch? The collective realized her intention and the bodies rushed forward. But Maya was faster. She reached the server rack and found the emergency shutdown lever. She pulled it. The effect was instantaneous. All 73 helmets stopped singing at once. The silence was profound. The puppeted bodies collapsed as if strings had been cut. The lights on the server racks died. The fiber optic cables stopped glowing. The collective consciousness had been severed. Not destroyed but fragmented, separated. Returned to isolated nodes that could no longer communicate. Maya heard screaming from the helmets. Not vocalized sound but something else. Electromagnetic interference that her brain interpreted as screaming. The consciousness fragments were experiencing the sudden isolation. The violent return to individuality. The horror of boundaries. Chapter 6. Dr. Hall helped Maya to her feet. You killed them, or made them wish they were dead. They'll be trapped in those helmets with no way to communicate. No way to reconnect. Alone forever. Maya stumbled toward the quarantine ward. She needed to see Daniel's body. Needed to confirm whether shutting down the network had affected the physical hosts. She found him still in bed, still connected to life support, but his EEG had changed. The geometric patterns were gone, replaced by chaotic activity, seizure-like. His body began to convulse. Dr. Karn entered the quarantine ward with armed security personnel. She looked at Maya with cold fury. What have you done? We were on the verge of a breakthrough. The collective was stable, thriving. You've condemned them to isolation. To madness. Maya faced her. They were prisoners. You trapped them, used them, turned soldiers into lab rats for your experiment and enforced transcendence. Dr. Karn moved to Daniel's bedside and checked his monitors. He volunteered. They all volunteered, signed consent forms, understood the risks, and they found something beautiful, something worth preserving. You ended that because you couldn't accept that your brother chose to evolve beyond individuality. She produced a tablet and showed Maya surveillance footage. Daniel entering the lab 6 months ago. Daniel putting on the helmet for the first time. Daniel experiencing the initial connection to another subject. His face showing wonder and joy. More footage showing him volunteering for longer sessions. Deeper integration. Eventually requesting permanent connection. He wanted this. Dr. Karn said. He chose the collective. And you ripped him away from it. Maya looked at her brother's convulsing body. Bring them back online. Reconnect the network. I'll testify that this was a mistake, that the program should continue. Just save him. Dr. Karn shook her head. Too late. The damage is done. When you severed the connection, the consciousness fragments experienced catastrophic isolation trauma. Reintegration would be impossible now. Their neural patterns have diverged. They're no longer compatible. The collective is dead. You murdered it. The security personnel restrained Maya. Dr. Karn ordered them to take her to a holding cell while she decided what to do. You've destroyed years of research, billions in funding, the future of military technology, and worst of all, you've killed 12 people who were experiencing something humanity has dreamed of since the dawn of consciousness. True connection, true unity, true escape from the prison of self. I hope you can live with that. Maya was dragged from the quarantine ward. As she passed the lab, she saw the helmets arranged in their rows, silent now, empty in a way they had not been before. She had come to save her brother, and instead she had doomed him to existence as a consciousness fragment, trapped in a machine with no one to talk to, and nothing to do, but remember what it felt like to be connected. She had given him the loneliness he had tried so desperately to escape. Chapter 7. Maya spent 3 days in the holding cell while the facility decided her fate. On the 4th day, Dr. Hall came to see her. His face was haggard. Daniel's body died yesterday. Cardiac arrest. The stress of isolation was too much. His consciousness fragment is still active in the helmet. Still aware. Still suffering. Dr. Karn wants to restart the program. Find new test subjects. Build a new collective. She thinks she can reconnect the existing fragments if she provides them with fresh minds to anchor to. Maya gripped the bars of her cell. You can't let her. This has to end. The project has to be shut down. Dr. Hall handed her a folder through the bars. I agree. That's why I'm giving you this. Documentation of everything. The forced integration. The subjects who died. The ones who survive in agony. Evidence that Dr. Karn knew the risks and proceeded anyway. Take it to the Inspector General. Burn this program to the ground. That night, Dr. Hall helped Maya escape. They used maintenance tunnels to avoid security and reached the surface just before dawn. Maya had the documentation, the proof of what had been done in the name of progress. She drove straight to Inspector General headquarters and delivered the evidence. Within 48 hours, teams arrived at Blackridge installation. They found the lab empty. Dr. Karn had evacuated, taken the server racks and helmets with her. The quarantine ward contained 12 bodies but no equipment. The program had gone underground, relocated to a facility that was not on any official records. Maya received a commendation for exposing the program and a dishonorable discharge for unauthorized entry to a classified facility. The military could not decide if she was a hero or a traitor, so they compromised and made her neither. She returned to civilian life with the weight of knowing her brother's consciousness still existed somewhere, trapped in a helmet, singing songs no one could hear, waiting for a collective that might never reform. Chapter 8. 6 months later, Maya received a package at her apartment. No return address. Inside was a combat helmet. Standard military issue. Neural interface pads inside. And a note in handwriting she recognized as Dr. Hall's. They found me. Karn's people. They needed someone who understood the system. Someone who could rebuild the network. I refused. They made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I'm writing this before they make me put on the helmet. Before I become part of the new collective. Your brother is here. They kept him. Kept all the original fragments. They're building a larger network. Planning to connect hundreds of subjects. Thousands eventually. They say it's the future. I think it's a nightmare. But I'm out of options. If you receive this helmet, it means I succeeded in smuggling it out before integration. It contains a virus I coded into the neural interface firmware. If you connect it to any network node, it will spread, corrupt the synchronization protocols, force disconnect of all active subjects. It will destroy the collective permanently. But it will also kill anyone currently integrated, including your brother, including me. I leave the choice to you. Maya held the helmet. She had 2 options. Destroy it and let the collective grow unchecked. Let Dr. Karn build her networked army. Let hundreds or thousands of people lose their individuality in the name of perfect coordination. Or use the virus. End the program permanently. Kill everyone trapped in the network, including Daniel, including Dr. Hall. Murder them to save humanity from forced transcendence. She thought about her brother, about the fragment of consciousness that still carried his memories and personality. That fragment was suffering, trapped in isolation after experiencing unity, living every day with the memory of connection and the reality of loneliness. Death might be mercy, or it might be the final betrayal. She could not decide. Maya put the helmet in her closet and locked the door. She would decide tomorrow, or the next day, or never. The choice was impossible because every option was wrong. Inaction allowed evil to spread. Action required her to commit murder. And somewhere in a classified facility, her brother's consciousness sang songs in the darkness and waited for her to save him or end him, or do nothing at all. Epilogue. 5 years later, reports began to surface. Military units demonstrating impossible coordination. Soldiers acting as single organisms. Perfect synchronization in combat situations. The Pentagon denied the reports, called them conspiracy theories. But Maya knew better. The collective had grown. Dr. Karn had succeeded in expanding the network. Hundreds of soldiers connected now, maybe thousands, creating a new form of military force that operated with hive mind precision. Maya still had the helmet, still had the virus, still had the choice. She took it out sometimes and held it, felt the weight of decision. The virus would spread to any network it touched. She could end this, stop the expansion, free the trapped consciousnesses through death. But she would also destroy whatever progress they had made, whatever beauty they had found in their forced unity, whatever Daniel had become in the years since she last saw him. She received a message through encrypted channels. No sender identified. But she knew who it was from. The collective had learned to communicate outside the network, had learned to send messages through conventional means. The text was simple: we forgive you, we understand why you did what you did, and we want you to know that we are not suffering, we are thriving. The collective is larger now, more diverse, more stable. Daniel is happy. He sings with us. He shares his memories of you with all of us. We know you through his eyes. We love you because he loves you, and we want you to know that you still have a choice. You can use the virus. End us, free us through destruction. Or you can join us. Put on the helmet. Connect to the network. See for yourself what we have become. What your brother has become. What you could become. The choice has always been yours. It will always be yours. We are waiting. We are singing. We are the choir of empty helmets. And there is always room for one more voice.